Good morning. Welcome to all of you. Mahabharata is, as all of you know, is an epic poem, very long poem that tells the story of the family feud between two brothers' families, which ultimately results in disaster, destruction of the Kuru family, Kuru Vamsha. I call the Mahabharata Ratna Sagara. Ratna Sagara means an ocean full of gems. Ratna Sagara, ocean full of gems. And what are the gems that you can find in Mahabharata? Obviously, Bhagavad Gita, which appears in Bhishm Pitamah. Then you have Vidur Neeti, ethical principles, which appears in Udyoga Parva. Then you have Sanastu Jatiya, which talks about death, avidya, jnana, and Brahman, and that also occurs in Udyoga Parva. Then Vishnu Sahastra Nama, which appears in Anushasana Parva. Among these four gems, Shankara has written commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, Sanasujatiya, and Vishnu Sahasranama. The very first commentary that Shankara wrote was on Vishnu Sahasranama. Because he wrote a commentary on Sanasujatiya, that also has been elevated as one of the gems in Mahabharata. Hopefully, if God permits, I will talk about Sanasujatiya sometime in the future. I'm still working on translating. There are 125 verses spread over four sections, and hopefully I can get it done before the end of the year. So that's the story of Mahabharata. And in this story, Mahabharata, in addition to these four gems that I mentioned, there are also many stories. And these stories arise as a result of the answer to Yudhishthira's questions. And these answers come from either Bhishma or some of the sages that were in the forest visiting with Yudhishthira, or in Hastinapura after he attained the kingdom. So this particular story appears in Shanti Parva. It is called Apad Dharma Parva, and chapter 138 of Shanti Parva. Yudhishthira asked Bhishma, Pitamaha, how should one act when surrounded by the enemy? I'm surrounded by the enemy, how should I act? How should a king get the cooperation of his friends and enemies? A king will have both enemies and friends and foes. How should one deal with the friend and the foe to get the cooperation that he needs? How should a king conduct himself amidst friends and foes? What is the proper role that I should do? How should one act if a perceived friend turns out to be an enemy, a false friend, as it's called? With whom should one fight? With whom should one enter into a treaty? So these are all questions that Yudhishthira had of Bhishma. Being the king, surrounded by many other kingdoms, obviously he was interested in knowing the answers to these questions. And Bhishma Pitamah replied, Yudhishthira, you have asked very good questions indeed. How one should act in times of sudden danger is a profound secret. Sometimes a friend turns into an enemy and an enemy into a friend. Therefore, it takes a great deal of thought to deal with them. Sometimes a peace pact is better than a fight. The main responsibility of a king, however, is to protect his own life in times of danger. And Bhishma says that because if the king is incapacitated, the kingdom will have no ruler. So the king, it's not a selfish idea. It is for the betterment of the society, to protect the society better. The king should take care of himself. He should protect himself in his life in times of danger. And Bhishma says, I've heard a story from learned scholars that illustrates the answers to your questions. So instead of directly answering the questions, Bhishma decides to tell a story. And that's the story that I am going to relate to you today. There was once a forest, and it had a huge banyan tree. Several animals and birds would seek shelter in the tree. In a hole in the ground, under the tree, there lived a mouse. The name of the mouse was Parita. Parita is a little mouse that resided under the tree. A cat named Lomasha had made his home on one of the tree branches. He would feast on the young birds that happened to perch on low-lying branches. A hunter lived not too far from this tree. He would come to the tree around late in the evening and cast a net at sunset. During the night, some animals and birds would get caught in the net. The hunter would then come back in the morning and catch the animals and birds that were entangled in the net. That was his way of finding a living for himself. One night, Lomasha the cat unfortunately got caught in the net. Though Lomasha was always careful, that night he had let his guard down and he was snared into the net. Seeing Lomasha in the net, Parita the mouse was overjoyed because he could now move freely without fear of the cat. As he was moving about freely in search of food, Parita the mouse saw a piece of meat hanging on the net. The mouse climbed up the net very carefully and ate the piece of meat. The mouse saw the predicament that the cat was in and was smiling with pleasure. My enemy is in trouble, and so I am very happy. That was what the mouse was thinking. The mouse was full and turned his head towards the sky. There he saw an owl named Chandraka staring at him. The mouse was afraid that the owl would swoop down any time and make him his meal. When the mouse turned towards the ground, he saw a mongoose licking his lips, waiting to catch the mouse if he ever came down from the tree. Faced with this dire situation, the mouse had to think fast. So he is on the net after eating a piece of meat. His mortal enemy, the cat, is caught in the net. Above, the owl is waiting to pounce on the mouse. On the ground, a mongoose is waiting to catch the mouse. The mouse said to himself, Parita said, when faced with danger, one must use all means available to save his own life. Any means is okay, as long as I can save my life. If I were to jump to the ground, the mongoose will catch me. If I stay in the net, the owl will swoop down and catch me. If I were to chew the net and try to find an escape route, the cat, freed from my chewing, will eat me. So I can't win. What am I going to do? I'm stuck. I should not lose my thinking and be frightened. Bhishma is essentially saying that even in times of danger, it is better not to be so frightened that you lose your power of thinking. I must use my mind to find a solution. I must try to seek the cooperation of my mortal enemy, Lomasha, in order to save my life. That's what he decides to do. When three enemies are waiting to get me, how can I save myself? Therefore, at this time, I must seek the cooperation of my enemy, the cat, Lomasha. I will explain to the cat how he can be rescued from the net if he cooperates with me. I have a plan to escape the clutches of all the three enemies of mine. That's what Parita, the mouse, was thinking aloud. There is no doubt that the cat is my enemy, but he is in a very precarious position. I will try to cultivate his friendship in order to save myself. So I want to forge a friendship with my enemy if it is going to save my own life. The cat may want to enter into a pact with me. When faced with unexpected danger, I have heard that even enemies become friends, though only temporarily. I'm sure many of us have seen on the world stage where nations that were supposed to be bitter foes forge into some kind of a friendship for a common purpose. As soon as the purpose is fulfilled, they part their ways. I've heard it said that a foolish friend is better than a learned enemy in some circumstances. Right now, my life depends on the cat. I will explain to the cat my plan. So the mouse, Parita, told Lomusha, "Oh cat, I'm speaking to you with a friendly attitude. You are caught in the hunter's net and are suffering a lot. I want you to live, and I want to live too. I want both of us to survive the predicament that we are in. If you promise not to kill me, I will relieve you of your difficulty. I have a plan. It will save your life and it will save my life. But I feel that this plan is difficult to execute. Nevertheless, we must try. You see, the owl up there is waiting to pounce on me. Look down, you will see the mongoose. It's trying to devour me if I go down. As long as they cannot catch me, I am safe. You and I have lived under the shelter of this tree for many years. Therefore, I consider you as a known acquaintance. Besides, you are very wise." He begins to flatter the cat. "I'll help you out if you help me. So please do not be afraid." Here, the weak mouse is giving advice to the cat. Don't be afraid. "Oh, cat, you are not in a position to get out of the net. If you don't harass me, I will chew the net to pieces and let you free. If we don't trust each other now, we will only be filled with anxiety. We do not want that, do we?" Putting anxiety in the cat was a good psychological move on the part of the mouse. Therefore, let us trust each other. May our friendship grow. We must work together to escape from the danger facing both of us. If you are desirous of saving your life, I will work to save yours. By cooperation, we can get out of this situation that we are in. The mouse then looked anxiously at the cat for a reply. The cat paid compliments to the mouse for the wise words. Hiding his fierce teeth, the cat spoke softly and said, "Oh, Palita, I am grateful to you for wanting me to stay alive. May you be showered with happiness. If you think that you can get me out of this net, do so immediately. Do not wait. Both of us are caught in a difficult situation. We must cooperate to escape from death. I will repay you for your kindness in saving me." The mouse said, "Lomusha, I am not surprised at the words coming from such a wise one as you are. I am afraid of the mongoose. I am afraid of the owl. So here is what I propose. I will crawl towards you and hide in your bosom. You must promise not to kill me, not to smother me. If I can survive under your protection, then I can release you from this net." Lomusha said, "Palita, come quickly, come quickly. You're indeed a great friend. We must not be afraid, and we must cooperate, and I will shelter you in my bosom." Bhishma said, "Yudhishthira, the mouse then entered the bosom of the cat for protection from the mongoose and the owl. The mouse felt very comfortable and safe in the embrace of the cat. Seeing this, both the mongoose and the owl were very disappointed. They were wonderstruck at the friendship between the cat and the mouse. How could it be, they wondered, They're mortal enemies, but now they are in great friendship. We don't understand it. They wisely concluded that the mouse was not to be had for their dinner and left the scene. And in the modern context, they say politics makes strange bedfellows. And here, the strange bedfellows, mortal enemies, strange bedfellows. The cat got frustrated. And the mouse then came crawling out of the cat's bosom and started chewing on the net very, very slowly. The cat was in great pain from the clutches of the net and wanted the mouse to hurry up. But the mouse did not feel any urgency in chewing the net any faster. The cat got frustrated and said, "Oh, friend, why are you taking so long to get me out of it? Can't you chew faster? Are you trying to place me in harm's way? Have you forgotten that I saved your life from the mongoose and the owl? It is almost daybreak, and the hunter will come soon. Chew the net around me before the hunter comes." The mouse said, "Oh, cat, please be calm. Do not rush me. Do not get anxious. I know what I am doing. I will save you just in the nick of time. One must not do anything in haste. If I were to free you from the net right now, you may pose a great danger to me. Therefore, please wait and don't rush me. I promise I will get you out of your predicament. As soon as I see the hunter approaching the net, I will release you. You know, you will climb immediately and get out of the net immediately and climb the tree. You do not wish to face the hunter, and you will run for cover. Your mind will be preoccupied with saving yourself, and therefore you will have no time to pounce on me. So that's the time I am going to release you. Lomasha, after you escape from the net, I will quickly go into the hole in the ground, which is my home." Yudhishthira, after the mouse spoke thus to protect himself from the cat began to think about his own safety. The cat wanted to be freed from the net in a hurry. After thinking for a while, the cat said, "Oh, wise mouse, good people always do things to help their friends, and not the way you are acting. I saved you from danger quickly, and I expected you to act quickly also. You must act quickly to safeguard my life. It looks like you are wasting time by remembering your enmity of the past. You will pay for your tardiness. If I have committed any wrongs in the past, do not hold against me. Be kind to me and get me out of this net." Yudhishthira, the mouse replied, "Oh, cat, I heard your selfish speech. I hope you listen to my words carefully. Know that I am also acting to protect myself. The friendship between a cat and a mouse is not natural. The friendship now was created in an atmosphere of fright. It is unnatural indeed. The reason for the friendship is the fear for our own very lives. How should one protect such friendship born out of fear? It should be protected so that there's no mutual danger for the two. Know that friendships do not survive forever, and enmity also does not last forever. Out of self-interest, some seek the friendship of others. The main driving force for either friendship or enmity is self-preservation. As soon as the task at hand is accomplished, the bond of friendship breaks down. You can actually see this when we think in terms of how the friendships are forged for one particular cause. You look at all of these so-called bipartisan proposals in the Congress, where with both parties agree on a certain plan that is conducive to both of them, they forge a friendship. As soon as that thing is accomplished, they're back to their old ways. So the mouse said, "When I see the hunter coming, I will release you. Your mind will be focused on escaping the hunter, and I know that you'll quickly climb the tree. "Oh, cat, I've only a very few strands to cut. Don't be afraid. I will release you from the net very soon." At daybreak, the hunter approached the net. The mouse cut through the remaining strands and the cat was free. The cat quickly climbed onto the tree and went for safety. The mouse jumped down and crawled into its own hole. Since both the owl and the mongoose had left, there was no danger for the mouse to come down and go into its hole. The hunter was disappointed to see his net in tatters and no animal or bird was caught in it. He then returned to his home with a tattered net in his hand. The cat offered his hand of friendship to the mouse, but the mouse decided it is safer to move someplace else and not stay under the tree anymore. The cat Lomasa, from the branches of the tree, addressed the mouse. "Palita, Palita, where are you going? You suddenly ran away without conversing with me. I hope you do not suspect my intentions. I'm certainly grateful to you. Why do you not approach me at a time when friends should enjoy the sweetness of friendship? Both of us are safe. Let's celebrate." The mouse turned down the request of friendship, citing the following arguments, very interesting arguments from the mouse. There is no such thing in existence as a foe or a friend. Only circumstances create friends and foes. Both friends and foes arise from considerations of interest and gain. Friendship morphs into enmity over time. Similarly, a foe also becomes a friend. For these reasons, both friends and foes must be studied and well understood. Everyone is moved by the desire of gain in some form or the other. One never becomes dear to another without cause. Talking of one never becomes dear to another without a cause. You will see that in Yagnavalkya's answer to Maitreya's question next week. Even the father, mother, wife, son, maternal uncle, nephew, and other relatives are guided by considerations of interest and profit. One becomes dear due to his disposition. Another becomes dear for his sweet words. A third becomes dear due to religious affiliation. Generally, a person becomes dear for the purpose he serves. The affection between us arose from a sufficient cause. That cause no longer exists. For this reason, our affection should also come to an end. What is the reason, I ask, for which I have become so dear to you, besides your desire for making me your prey? The circumstances under which peace or war is declared can change as quickly as the clouds change their form. Similarly, the case for friendship and enmity. This very day, you were my foe. This very day, again, you want to be my friend. This very day, you once more become my enemy. Such are the considerations that affect all living creatures. You have no use for me except to eat me. I am your food. You are the eater. I am weak and you are strong. There cannot be a friendly union between us when we are not equals. I am filled with alarm even if I see you from a distance. A residence near a person possessed of strength and power is not recommended by the wise. He who blindly trusts friends and always mistrusts foes puts himself in peril. You got to give careful thought to trusting your friends and mistrusting your enemies. You were entangled in the net when you set foot on the seek for food. Having been freed, you now experience the pangs of hunger. Remember, the cat was caught in the net. It was spent all night. It had no food, so he's very, very hungry. I shall not, therefore, unite with you in friendship because I know what you will do. You're so hungry, you want to eat me. Forget it. I'm not going to be your food. Thus rebuked by the wise mouse, the cat, blushing with shame, once again tried to convince the mouse to accept the offer of friendship. The mouse turned down the request and said, "O cat, I should always be wary of you, and you should always be wary of the Chandala, the hunter, whose rage has been kindled by your escape." As the mouse uttered these words, the cat, frightened by the mere mention of the hunter, hastily left the tree and ran away with great speed. The wise mouse Palita, having completed his conversation, entered another hole. Yudhishthira, I hope you have learned some useful things from this story. I hope you have learned the plan to employ in making friends out of enemies and enemies out of friends in order to protect your own kingdom. So that's the story that Bhishma relates to Yudhishthira. Again, in the forum, instead of answering the questions, he gave the answer in the form of the story between the cat and the mouse. So there's a lot of things for Yudhishthira to contemplate on. And also there are certain times when you trust people. By trust, you mean you have complete confidence in what they do and what they say, and you do not question their advice or their judgment. And that trust is very important. And sometimes you don't know whom to trust. Sometimes you trust the wrong people and get into trouble. Sometimes we do not trust the advice given to us by well-meaning friends, family, and relatives, and we get into a lot of trouble. And again, it's the nature of mankind. Who do you trust? So Yudhishthira asked Bhima, this comes in Shanti Parva, Raja Dharmanusasana Parva, and, "O grandsire, I see some cruel people who have an outward appearance of calm and gentleness. If you look at them, you would never guess they're very cruel people. How can one ascertain the true nature of a person?" In response to this query, Bhishma again relates the story of a conversation between a tiger and a jackal. Here again, you see, Bhishma does not answer the question directly, but towards the end, he will summarize the moral of the story. There once was a prosperous town named Purika that was ruled by a king, Paurika. The king was a cruel person indeed. He would derive pleasure by torturing others. In course of time, he met with the inevitable death. Due to his past karma, he was reborn as a jackal in a cemetery. In his rebirth as a jackal, he remembered the cruel deeds of his past when he was a king. He repented for this and took a vow not to hunt and eat meat, even if others brought it. So the jackal stopped harming other animals and took another vow to always speak the truth. It would eat the fruits that were fallen on the ground and lived in a cemetery. It was born in a cemetery, and living in a cemetery seemed natural for it. It had no desire to live elsewhere. The other jackals in the town did not appreciate the behavior of this jackal and tried to persuade it to change its ways. You are setting a wrong example. You are making all of us fools. So they came to the cemetery and said, "Oh, brother, you are a natural carnivore. You are living in a frightful place. You are maintaining a pure lifestyle. This is contrary to your innate nature. Therefore, please live like the rest of us jackals. We are willing to bring you delicious meat. Abandoning your vegetarian lifestyle, enjoy the meat that we will bring you. You would then be carrying on the tradition of our race. So do not deviate from the party platform. Otherwise, you're going to be in great trouble." The jackal replied, "O kinsfolk, just because I was born as a jackal does not imply I should engage in cruel acts. I believe that the reputation of our race will be enhanced if we observe a gentler and contemplative lifestyle. I am interested in enhancing the reputation, and hence I am following this righteous lifestyle. Should you ask me as to why I am living in a cemetery, I'll respond thus. The nature of Atman is to urge us to do good and auspicious deeds. It is not necessary to live in a holy place to do good deeds. Place has little to do with one's actions. One may live in the holiest of holy places, yet he will not incur great sin. Yet will he not incur great sin if he kills a holy Brahmin? If one were to generously donate cows while living in a less than a holy place, is the generosity wasted? So the place has nothing to do with it. You are all interested in selfish desires and eat meat with reckless abandon. You are perhaps not aware of the demerits of your lifestyle. Your life is filled with sorrow. You are ignorant of the larger purpose of life. What you are doing is an impediment to dharma. You will reap the consequences in this life and hereafter. I am not pleased with your lifestyle, and so please do not ask me to join me. Go away. Several people soon observed the noble nature of the jackal, and the word spread throughout the land. There lived a famous tiger nearby, and it too heard about the decency of the jackal. The tiger recognized the clean habits of the jackal and the wisdom of the jackal, and decided to make the jackal his chief minister. So he approached the jackal and said, "Oh, the gentle one, I have understood completely your nature. Come with me. I will provide you with all the comforts you desire." The jackal said, "O king of the animal kingdom, I am pleased by what you have just said. It is appropriate that you are looking for a chief minister who is of good nature. It is not possible to rule a kingdom without the assistance of a capable chief minister. You must respect the good nature and wise minister just as you respect your own parents. O king of animals, I am happy as I am nothing that you give me can make me happier. I do not crave for wealth or other material things. You have several attendants in your retinue. They are not gentle by nature. They act according to their innate nature. I am afraid that they will not take kindly to my saintly nature. I am sure that they will try hard to discredit me. They will try to drive a wedge between you and me. They will spread false rumors about me and try to convince you that I am only interested in destroying your reputation." So here, the jackal is pointing out the difficulty of accepting the chief minister's position. You are mighty and strong. Other animals fear you, and it is known that you are also great protector of others. Your reputation for justice is well known. I've heard about your compassion too. You have a far-reaching vision. You are enthusiastic in running your kingdom. You have set great goals, and I realize that a wise chief minister would be of value to you. I'm quite happy the way I am. It may appear to you that I'm living an austere life. I do not know much about soldiers. I'm quite contented living the way I am. One who lives under the umbrella of a king is always worried about displeasing the king. One who is not loyal to the king is always worried about the repercussions of a disloyalty. You can see that happening in our political life right now. What disloyalty will bring to you, nothing but grief. His life is filled with anxiety and he is not free. I have no such worries and fears. I am free and happy. If you insist that I become your chief minister, I have a few conditions to place before you. You should treat my friends with respect. Number one, never treat my friends with disrespect. You should listen to my words of advice. Do not pretend you hear me, but really listen to me. And you should safeguard the position of the chief minister. Promise me, then I will become your chief minister. I will not interfere in the affairs of your other ministers. I will not scrutinize their actions. Yet I know that they will try to pin blame on me. I want you to promise that you will not punish them for their gossip and rumor. They may even tell you falsehoods about my own kinfolks. I do not want you to use force and punish my kinfolk based on false accusations. You should not destroy me based on the words of others in your retinue. Having heard the jackal, the tiger agreed to all the conditions and appointed Jackal as the chief minister. Jackal became a wise counselor to the tiger. It gave good advice to the tiger, and in due course of time, the tiger's kingdom became very prosperous. The tiger began to praise the jackal. This upset the others in the king's retinue. They became jealous of the jackal. Prior to the arrival of the jackal, they lived well, but plundering from others and resorting to bribery. After the arrival of the jackal, they could not carry out their old ways because the jackal was scrupulous in upholding the law and maintaining the treasury balance. They tried to tempt the jackal with bribes, but to no avail. This made matters worse, and the other minister decided to destroy the jackal. One day, they stole the favorite meat of the tiger from the kitchen and put it in the chambers of the jackal. The jackal knew the motive behind this and decided to keep quiet for the time being. The tiger woke up from its slumber and summoned his favorite dish. He was very hungry and was eagerly awaiting his favorite meat dish. When he did not get his meat dish, he became angry and ordered his servants to find out who stole the meat dish. The ones who had stolen the meat from the kitchen and placed it in the jackal's quarters said, "Oh, your wise, knowledgeable, gentle-mannered, know-it-all chief minister, he stole the meat, which was intended for your consumption. He is a no good person. He is a rascal. He is not a jackal." Having heard this, the tiger was not amused. He became very angry. He could not forgive the jackal and decided to kill him. Sensing the doubt that was shown in the tiger's mind, the other minister spoke to the tiger to reinforce the untrustworthiness of the jackal. Everybody is now ganging up on the jackal. "O king, the jackal has betrayed you. If he can steal your favorite food, what prevents him from stealing other things? You have heard all of the noble qualities of the jackal. You see, he is masquerading as someone who he is not. He has fooled you. He speaks words of kindness, yet he acts contrary. In order to promote himself, he has put on this deceptive facade, and we have no doubt that his ultimate aim is to destroy you. If you don't believe in us, we will go right now and bring you the meat dish from the jackal's quarters." Then they go to the jackal's den and bring the meat dish. Having seen this with his own eyes, the tiger ordered his deputy ministers to catch the jackal and kill it. The tiger's mother heard the tiger's order and offered the following words of advice. "O child, it is not proper for you to simply accept the false words of your deputy ministers. Don't believe in big lies. Don't believe in big lies. It is natural to blame the innocent when one's own authority is undermined. Jealousy prevents accepting the success of others. Jealousy prevents accepting the success of others. Jayamana santapaha. What you have seen is but the seed sown to create enemies out of friends. Regardless of how honest and hardworking one is, he too gets blamed by others. Even a sannyasi encounters people who act as his friend or enemy. Misers hate generous people. Weaklings have the strong as their enemy. Dullers have the learned as their enemy. The poor despise the rich. The ugly harbor jealousy towards the beautiful. There is a gulf between the unrighteous and the righteous. This duality, this constant fight between opposites is always there. One may be well learned, yet they sometimes behave as misers, hypocrites, and act foolishly. On the one hand, your favorite meat dish is missing. On the other hand, there's the jackal that has given up eating meat. Consider these facts carefully and think before you act. Why would the jackal, who was eschewed eating meat, steal the meat dish from you? Did you ever think about that? In this world, well-bred animals behave crudely and ill-bred animals display refined behavior. This being observed fact, is it not proper for you to ascertain which animal is truly cultured and which one is not? The sky looks like the bottom of a huge vessel. The firefly looks like a spark of kindled fire. In reality, there is no bottom of a vessel in the sky, nor is there fire in a firefly. Therefore, you must examine carefully what appears before you. One who acts after careful examination of the facts does not have to repent for his actions later. O child, it is not against the law for a powerful king to vanquish his enemy. If the enemy is weak, it doesn't take much effort to slay him. Therefore, the compassion shown by the strong is well respected by all. You appointed the jackal as your chief minister and chief confidant. It has earned a very good name among all the subjects of your kingdom. It was not easy to find wise counselors. The jackal is only interested in your welfare, so you must protect it. If you kill the jackal based on the false evidence provided by your evil-minded ministers, I can assure you that your kingdom will be ruined in a short time. Just at that time, an animal came forward and narrated to the tiger the true facts and explained how the evil ministers had framed the jackal. The tiger felt very bad at his rash judgment and embraced the jackal. Tears were flowing from the tiger's eyes as it begged forgiveness from the jackal. The jackal told the tiger it would be very difficult to continue as the chief minister. O king, you honored me in the beginning. Later, you shamed me. You accepted false accusations against me. Therefore, I am not deserving of continuing as your trusted counselor. I never harbored evil designs on you. I have always kept your welfare in front of me. I have discharged my duties with faith. I was never interested in acting just to protect my position. I am now the laughing stock of your pupils. How can you trust me again? How is it possible for me to stay on you as your chief minister? You invited me to your chief minister to become your chief minister only after determining that I was worthy of the position. That was a great honor you bestowed on me. Later, you forgot to keep the promise and you shaved me. How do you expect me to trust you? I also believe that you cannot trust me anymore. The trust between us has been breached. Under the circumstances, if I decide to continue as your chief minister, my mind will not be peaceful. Both of us will be wondering if deception and deceitful behavior crop up. Once the confidence is breached, it is very hard to repair it. Even if it is repaired, it is not at all clear as to how permanent the repair is. This reminds me of a thing that I saw. One of my friends, Indian friends, his son got married to a young girl who is of Jewish parentage. So I went to their wedding in New Jersey. And the wedding was performed both in the Hindu style and in the Jewish tradition. And the rabbi who performed the Jewish part of the wedding took a glass and put it on the floor and asked the bridegroom to step on the glass. And the bridegroom stepped on the glass and it broke into pieces. And then he said, bend down, pick up the pieces and reassemble them to become the original glass. And the bridegroom looked at him and said, are you kidding? They're all in shreds. How can I put it together? It's a very difficult thing to put it back together. And the rabbi told him that the same thing as trust. The trust between you and your wife is like this glass. Once it is broken, very, very difficult to put it back. It is possible, but it takes a great deal of energy. So the best thing to do is not to break the trust. The bond of trust could snap again. Among hundreds of people you can employ, only a few are interested in working for the welfare of the kingdom. Most of the others are freeloaders. Among these few, there may be one or two who really work to protect the king. So saying, the jackal took permission from the tiger and left the kingdom and returned to the burial grounds of his former home. Therefore, there the jackal did a yajna and attained his place in heaven. So Yudhishthira, you see, this is how you should be very, very careful in choosing your ministers. And once you choose your ministers, you should have complete confidence in them. If you begin to listen to others who are interested only in their own personal gain at the expense of the kingdom, then you are in great trouble. So that's the message that the story tells to Yudhishthira. So that is the story that I wanted to relate to you, the two stories today. There are so many stories. There's another story that comes in Raja Dharma Shasana Parva. This is also about the story of a sannyasi and a dog, the friendship between a sannyasi and a dog, and how that friendship gets fractured over a period of time. What happens? What Bhishma was telling Yudhishthira was sometimes the faith that you place in someone becomes so deep that you do not stand, even if things are not going your way, you do not take a step back to determine what is the thing that is causing this friendship to be frayed. And that is a very difficult thing to do. He said that so before you cultivate friendships, you should examine very carefully the reason why you want somebody to be your friend. And is it for selfish reasons, or is it for the benefit of the society as a whole? And so these are questions that the king must ask himself, is what Bhishma's response to Yudhishthira is. That you cannot make your decisions quickly. And Bhishma is very clear to Yudhishthira. You also should not surround yourself with yes people. That's also very dangerous. So we learn a lot from these stories. If you look at Vidur Neeti, you find that's another gem in the Ratna Sagara. You find some wonderful pieces of advice on ethics of life. Bhagavad Gita is also on the Dharma Shastra. Jivana Dharma Shastra is what I call Bhagavad Gita. Jivana Dharma Shastra. And Mahabharata is a Ratna Sagara. So there are many things we can learn by reading and thinking about. I like the stories because I remember the stories better than the teaching.